You're listening to The War We're Not Being Told the Full Story About, an economic analysis on the effects of the war in Iran by USA and Israel will have on Africa and the Caribbean. I'm Charmaine Hayden, and I'm going to break down how these global events are shaping our economies. Because the headlines always tell us what happens, but they rarely tell us what it means for us. So let's get into it. Now, guys, I'm going to be honest, this is a complex and developing situation, and the analysis I've put together is quite extensive. So rather than trying to cover everything in one sitting, I'm going to break it into a series of episodes, I think, so that we can take the time to understand what's really happening and what it means for our economies. In this first episode, I'm going to start with a short executive summary of the 5 things that I think that you need to understand immediately before we go deeper into the story. So let's begin. First, the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed, not by missiles, but by insurance. 7 of the 12 major maritime insurance clubs have cancelled war risk coverage. And without that coverage, ships simply cannot sail. This is a financial blockade, and it is just as effective as a military one. Second, because of that blockade, Iraq has already shut down 1.5 million barrels per day of production across 3 of its biggest fields. Tankers cannot reach the export terminals at Basra, so the oil has nowhere to go. If the cuts widen to 3 million barrels per day, it would be one of the largest sudden supply losses in modern history. Third, do not let anyone tell you that OPEC spare capacity solves this. The headline number is 3 to 4 million barrels per day of spare capacity, but most of it sits in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and those barrels have to transit through the same closed strait. Only 2.6 million barrels per day can bypass Hormuz by pipeline. 20 million normally flows through it. Fourth, Goldman Sachs has calculated that the market has priced in exactly 4 weeks of Hormuz closure. Beyond that, the impact goes vertical. Brent surged past $90 on Friday and hit $94 per barrel, the highest since September 2023. We're now $6 away from Goldman Sachs' $100 trigger. If this drags past a month, analysts are projecting $100 to $120 a barrel. And fifth, guys, this is not just an oil crisis. It is simultaneously a shipping crisis with surcharges of $2,000 to $4,000 per container. It is a fertilizer crisis with urea up 13% in 4 days right at planting season. It is a gas crisis with European benchmark prices up 85%. It is a currency crisis with emerging market currencies posting their worst session since November 2024. And it is a food security crisis. Africa and the Caribbean are absorbing all of these shocks through every channel at the same time. What follows is the full picture. The military facts you have already heard and the economic consequences that you have not. And before I take you through this, I want to be upfront. Where the data is contested, I will tell you. Where I'm estimated, I will say so. And where I am just connecting the dots, I will show you the dots first and let you draw the line. All sources will be listed separately. Readiness matters more than reaction. That is the principle of this entire analysis is built on. So, on February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched the largest joint military operation in modern Middle Eastern history. Operation Epic Fury, Operation Roaring Lion. Israel's Air Force dropped more than 1,200 munitions across 24 of Iran's 31 provinces in the opening waves. Nuclear facilities, military bases, command centers, and air defenses. By March 1st, Iranian state media confirmed that Western intelligence had been tracking for hours. Their supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was dead, killed in the strikes. The man who had led the Islamic Republic for nearly 4 decades, gone in under 48 hours of the war. And that brings us to the end of this first episode. What we've covered here is the executive summary. The key facts explain why this conflict matters far beyond the Middle East. But the real story begins when we follow the economic chain reaction that comes next. In the next episode, we're going to look at the mechanics of the crisis, the Strait of Hormuz, the global oil system, the insurance markets that control shipping, and why a financial decision in London can shut down energy flows across the world. Because once you understand that system, you understand why this war could reshape the global economy. So join me in episode 2, where we begin to break down the real economic battlefield behind the conflict I'm not going to lie, I'm definitely going to eat this tub of pistachio gelato that's been looking at me for the past however many minutes. And yes, I'm probably going to eat that whole thing. See you at part 2.